Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Quantum Leap homework or morning market analysis and trade plan setup for Thursday, October the 3rd, 2013. For those that are watching on YouTube or are in as guests from Twitter, Quantum Leap is a self-organized learning environment. My name's Doug McKay. I'm the lead moderator for the room. I'm a trader out of Canada. The room is a private Skype room. It's a private Skype chat. We've been around for about 4 years. If you won't be able to see the chat this morning, but if you want to check it out, you will need a Skype account. It only takes a couple of minutes to set one up, and it's free. And you can send me a contact request at Doug_McKay. I'll be the one from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Each morning we come together and we go through a basic routine where we go through our key numbers. We've been keeping a homework sheet for several years now, and I forgot to open it up. Let me just go grab it real quick.
So he bought back, so he was short of meaningful stock, bought back about 500,000.
And what we do with the homework sheet is we go through a series of different key numbers, starting with the open highs, lows from the yearly down to the daily, and then we go through a series of different methodologies that we use. And the end result of the homework sheet is we put out what we call our QLTP, which is a ladder above the previous day and a ladder below the previous day, based on several different methodologies. With news, it's a one-sheet printout for our members, and they can print this out and have it as a guide so they know where other traders might activate or be inclined to enter the market. And then we'll get into some basic trend charting, and then we'll get into some deeper chart analysis based on volume profile. Then Howard comes in with his Elliott wave and Fibonacci. So if you're watching on YouTube, you might want to skip ahead and get into the more in-depth charting, but this is a routine we do in order to prepare ourselves for trading each day. So before we get into the numbers, I've got to get the legals out of the way, so let me just pull up the disclaimer. This information is for the purpose of educating members who want to expand the knowledge of the business of trading. It's not for trading or investment advice. You and only you are responsible for the trades or investment decisions you make. Trading futures or any instrument involves risk loss. Please consider carefully whether futures or options are appropriate to your financial situation. Only risk capital should be used when trading futures or options. Investors could lose more than initial investment. Nobody at Quantum Leap is a certified trading advisor. We are retail traders operating within a self-organized learning environment. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and any trades you see in Quantum Leap are for education purposes. Please do your own due diligence and trade your own trade plan. So, of course, the high of the year, 1726.75, is still intact. We're nowhere near our year open, our year low. We opened the month at 1678.50. We have a high of 1692.25 and a low of 1673.25. Our previous month opened 1640.25. Previous month high 1726.75. Previous month low 1630.75, and we closed at 1678.75. Our week opened at 1675. We have a week high at 1692.25, week low at 1666.75, and a previous week open 1706.50, previous week high 1707.50, previous week low 1680. This 80 is going to come into a major play for the next few days, I believe. Previous week 1685 and a 85.25 close. We're not going to bother with the quarterlies. We'll go right to the intradays. Yesterday in Globex, we opened up at 1691.50. We had a high of 1691.75. We had a low of 1675 and a quarter, and we opened the RTH in range at 1678.50 for an open auction in range. We broke the IB, the initial balance, or the first hour high or low. We broke it to one side, so it was a normal variation day. Our opening swing high, 80 and a quarter. Again, this number is going to be very significant. We'll talk about it when we get into the composite chart. Our opening swing low, 77 and a quarter for a 3-point opening swing. First clue that we are going to get a rotational day. Our initial balance high, 81. Initial balance low, 73 and a quarter for a 7 3/4 point initial balance range. Another clue that we are going to have a rotational day. Our 1230 number, you didn't put it in, Howard. What was our 1230 number? Of course, it'll be 130 on my chart. 66.75. Our RTH high was 1687.50. Our RTH low 1673 and a quarter. RTH closed at 1683.50, and our VPOC shifted down to 1684.75. And the red indicates lower than the prior day. Our range 14 and a quarter in the RTH. Full session range 1850. Globex range 1650. We had a big move overnight. The short was really good off of 90.75. Our full session high 1691.75. Full session low 1673 and a quarter. Our 20-day ATRs are running just under 13 for the RTH, just over 15 for the full session, and just over 8 and a quarter for the Globex. Our Globex open last night, 1683, was lower. Our European cash closed yesterday at 10:30 Central, 1680.75 was lower. Our value area high was 1687 and a quarter. Our value area low was 1670 and a quarter, and again, these were all lower numbers. Value area was 9-point range. We broke the IB to the high side outside of the pocket at 10:19. They went down, looked like they were going to break inside the pocket to the low side, and then the buyer stepped in and ripped it up higher and slowly moved up and finally broke it to the upside. Our extended session high, 1683.75. Extended session low 1682 and a quarter, and we closed at 82.75 for a 1.5-point range, which is right at our 20-day ATR for the ETH. And we had 1.3 and 1.6 in volume, respectively. Going over to the CHVNs and CLVNs, well, the big CHVN is also, I changed the start date of the composite. You didn't change the date here, Howard? I think it was the 3rd. But basically, I brought in just the volume for this year, and the most accepted price for the whole year is 1680 and a quarter. So that is our composite VPOC as well as a CHVN. So it is going to be a significant magnet while we're in this area. And it happens to be what our Globex VPOC is overnight as well. So I don't think we're going to get away from it really quickly. I find that it's kind of interesting that we've only been up here for about 30 days and we've done more volume at 1680 and a quarter than anywhere else this year, and that leads me to believe that there's a struggle here between the bears and the bulls, where they're trying to hold value here, whether or not it is capping the buyers and we're going to get a rotation down, or whether or not it's a basing pattern and they're accepting higher value before we move back up into the 1700s. So we've got to have that in our thoughts as we trade. Nothing really changes within the CLVNs. We had a multiple distribution day yesterday. The two LVNs you want to keep your eye on is 81 and a quarter and 76.75. Naked crosses is a study that I started a few years ago. It uses the 9 EMA and the 20 SMA. When the 9 EMA crosses over the 20 SMA and price action moves away, those areas are considered naked or unauctioned, and the market has a tendency, very high probability, to come back to that area and retest that number, re-auction that unauctioned price point. And we use them for targets. We watch them and track them on the 30, the 15, and the 5. You can see we took out 86.75, 80 and a quarter, 80 yesterday, and we added 82, 84, 87.75 and 89.75. And what we do is we look for clusters of these as targets, as you know, especially when they show up within areas of other confluence based on other methodologies. Naked VPOCs, we took out the 1686.75 and we added a lower one at 1684.75. News for the day, we had unemployment claims. It really didn't do much for the market. We have ISM non-manufacturing 30 minutes into the open. This one will be the one that you want to keep your eye on. Factory orders, natural gas at 9:30, and of course we've got FOMC. We've got some members speaking every day this week, but the big headline risk is, of course, is what's going on with the debt ceiling. October 17th is the deadline for the debt ceiling at $16.7 trillion, and you know, see if the government continues to negotiate. And so you have to be very wary of any news coming out that could you know, rip this market in one way or the other. So let's go to our basic our charts and take a look at the macro to the micro in terms of trend. The monthly trend is very much intact. Good slope and separation on the 9 and the 20. Prices paralleling the 9 nicely. We're trading in the upper distribution of the prior month, so the trend is very much intact on the monthly. On the weekly, we've got a possible head and shoulder pattern showing up. We did see a bit of weakness come in. We had our first close on the weekly a couple of weeks ago below the 20. That was the first time all year we've closed below the 20. But since then, on the you know, Fed news, we've popped up, went and made a new high. Now we're, you know, we created this technical gap, and we come down. We've closed the gap on the weekly, and we are trading and holding the 9 EMA, and we've got you know, good separation on the 9 and the 20 and a little bit of slope. So as long as we stay above the 20, the trend on the weekly is very much intact. Going to the daily, we, you know, went up and made that new high. We went and rolled over and closed below the 9 and the 20. We have a naked cross on the daily at 1688 above us. We're currently trading below the 9 and the 20. We do not have slope and separation, so we're at a decision point on the daily. So, you know, possible larger head and shoulder pattern, but nowhere near to being completed. We do have a naked cross below us as well at 1653, which comes into play on the geometric chart. The geometric chart, this is a long-term fork that we've fallen out of. We put in this modified shift fork a couple weeks ago, and then the opposing fork a couple weeks ago. And you can see that we're currently trading below the center line of the modified shift fork, so we're likely to come down and test the lower line. We are, you know, coming off of the upper line of the downward sloping fork, and we have an energy point below us. Now this energy point is going to come into play. If it's going to be a factor, it's going to come into play within the next couple days. Otherwise we're going to be beyond it. And that brings us down to that 1653, 1654 area. The one above, if we, you know, get back above the 9 and the 20 on the daily, the one above you want to keep your eye on is at 1710. And if we continue to chop around in this area, we've got one at 1683.75. So just keep an eye on this. We're getting, you know, past this one, so it's this one and this one we want to keep our eye on. And we really, you know, don't know which way it's going to go right now because we're consolidating in around this microcomposite VPOC, former microcomposite VPOC, the composite VPOC. Let's take a look at the intraday real quick. Intraday shows that the 4-hour was moving down. We're kind of consolidating in this area. We are closed back above the 9 and the 20, but there's no clear direction on the 4-hour. On the 30-minute, well, we've popped up in the last 30 minutes on the news. It wasn't a really big pop, but it was, roughly 3 points, and we're currently trading above the 9 and the 20, and coming up to test this consolidation area above us. Going over to the composite chart now, I did some changes on my micro composites last night. Of course, the big changes, I changed the start date to bring in the fact that this is this 80.25 is the composite VPOC for the whole year. But I also changed how I was drawing my microcomposites because I want to see the levels of acceptance on our way up and as we're holding on the way down. And of course above us is 84.75. That's the microcomposite VPOC for the last 4 days, and we're coming up to test it right now. Above us, the value that we tried to hold before coming down here, the most accepted price was 16.97, and then of course when we made the all-time new high, the high in the RTH is 1723.75, the high in the Globex is 1726.75. We tried to hold the 1775 area before we fell down, and you could see as we came down, we came and revisited and tried to hold at levels that we previously had, but each time they came down, they couldn't hold, and they came down to the other levels. So right now, with the fact that we're trading inside of the this balance area between 1687 and 1665, I think we're going to see some more chop around in this area. 84 is coming into play again. I think you can use 82.25 as an area to do business. It's the CLVN, and it's also basically the separation of the distribution between these three undetermined values at 80.25, 78.50, and 75. If we get below it, I'd be looking for a strong rotation down to 80.25, and then again, like we did yesterday, probably chop around this area as they mature this distribution point. Below 71, I think you can look for a rotation towards that 68.75, and the key line in the sand below us at 65.75. If we get below there, we've got the naked gap and naked close at 63. We've got a former microcomposite VPOC at 63.75, and we've got the naked VPOC at 63.75 from this breakout day as well. And then below that, the other side of balance is 60.50, and below 60.50, then you've got that energy point that comes into play in around that 53, 54 area with the 51. But the big number below is that microcomposite VPOC at 1647, and the prior one at 1648, and the head and shoulder pattern that we've been tracking that has not been invalidated on the 4-hour, the measured move is 47. So that takes us down into this area and then into this blunt area where I think we'll chop around for some time as they try to determine whether or not the buyers are going to hold it up or we continue price discovery lower. If we get above the 87, I think that the 95.50, which was a prior microcomposite VPOC, is going to be a strong magnet. 93.50 might be a little bit of resistance above, but we've got the 95.50 and 97. And I think if we get above 87.50, that the bulls are going to take control. I think we're going to see a move like that if we get some news. If we don't get some news, if they're not indicating that there's going to be a resolution to this government shutdown, I think we'll chop around between that 87.50, maybe 90 on the high side, and the 65.75. Value area high right now, and the balance that we're in is 88, so just 88.25, I should say, just above that 87.50. Value area low is 76.75, but I think 75 comes into play. So expecting some chop there. If we do get above and we make a strong move up to 97, I'd be looking for acceptance of value back up here, and then a move to test the other side of balance and the centennial number at 1700 and 1701. And above that, we're back in the zipper line, very unauctioned territory, and I think we'll make a quick move up into prior value at that 1775, 1718 area, and possibly go up. Remember that in the past we've seen when the highs have been put in, the all-time highs have been put in the Globex versus the RTH, that the market has had a probability of going out and taking out that new high, not respecting, or the Globex high, not respecting the RTH high. So the real big target above is not the 1723.25, it's 1726.25. And then I've got areas that I'm watching at 1740 area, and then of course that 1778, which is where I find the anticipation. If we're going to get a blow off top, that could be where we see it. Let's take a look at the overnight action. Of course, the overnight was fairly balanced with the microcomposite VPOC right at the composite VPOC at 1680, so they're finding value around that area. Let me just take my numbers from my areas from yesterday off. We can leave that in there. Okay, so our overnight low right now is 73.50, which is one tick. Lately, if you've been noticing that the overnight lows have been very close to what the daily lows were. So we have our overnight low one tick above our RTH low from yesterday. The overnight high currently right now is 84, just below the VPOC. And of course the overnight VPOC is at that 80.25. So we're currently trading in the upper distribution from yesterday. We have an LVN here at 81. With the overnight VPOC and the composite VPOC and the CHVN at 80.25, just below. So the LVN is going to be an important area for support. If we break through it, we're likely to come down to that 80.25 as a strong magnet. So this LVN is going to be a trade area for me. I'll be looking to see if the buyers step in and hold us in the upper distribution, or whether or not they rotate back down into the distribution zone with those three levels, the 80.25, 78, and 75. Of course, we're could go make a new high still in the Globex, but if we're opening up in this area, I'd be looking for them to take out the overnight high and the prior naked VPOC from yesterday, go up and test the next level above, which is that 85.75 LVN, but you've got the value area high from yesterday at 87.25, and the range high from yesterday at 87.50. That will be a trade area for me. I'll be looking for responsive sellers to step in here and rotate us back into this upper distribution. Below 81, I'm looking for 88. The 78 is 78.50 is just right at the value area low at 78.25. And of course, we've got the CHVN and the other key CHVN at 78.50 in this distribution zone. And then below that, you've got the 76.75, which is was a minor CLVN right here. It's shifted up slightly. I moved it up to 77, but this LVN 76.75 is going to be another trade area for me. And then below that, we've got the overnight low. So if we get below that 76, 75, 77 area, I'd be looking for a rotation down to a 75, the other CHVN and former microcomposite, and then a push through to test the overnight low and the range low, and I'll be doing business there as well. And below that we have the CHVN at 71. That will be a target for me, with the other side of balance being down here at the CLVN at 65, 75, and we also had the prior day range low at 66.75, and a push through if we the continued sell off down to the 63.75 naked VPOC, the former microcomposite VPOC, the CHVN, and then the naked close and the gap close down at 63.75. I don't think we're going to get much lower than that during the day. And then above, we've got that 1690 CLVN, and above that, that'll be another trade area for me. Above that, a move to the 92, which is just above, or I should say, it is at the range high for the microcomposite that we're in, and move to break out of that balance and come up into the prior balance. So that's what I'm looking at. Let's take a quick look at where we are and how these numbers play out in the Renko. 80.25 center line test of the Keltner channel. So right at the Globex VPOC, and that powerful number at 80.25. As long as we're above that, the test of the upper Keltner will bring us up to that 86 area, which is LVN above us, and a move to break out and a possible walk the line up to test the value area high and the range high at 87.50. Below the 80.25, Keltner channel low is down at 74, and that's going to give you a test of the lower range from yesterday. Taking a quick look at gold, I did get stopped out on my swing long on gold last night. I'd moved my stop up to 13.1030, and it didn't hold. They came down and stopped me out. I'll be looking to see if they come back down to this 1300, how they handle 13, and I'll see if I can get. I know I moved it too tight, but that's 260 ticks. Represents $2,600. I had to lock in some profit because I was seeing some weakness overnight and a possibility that they could come down and come back down into this 1284.90 area again. We're currently trading 1308 around that former microcomposite VPOC at 1309. Value area low in our current balance is 1305. Value area high is 1345.50. I'm expecting chop in around the microcomposite VPOC at 17. That was that CLVN as well, and a key level. And as they try to balance or test that level back and forth, it's created a microcomposite VPOC. If we get below 1304, I'd be looking for where we would then be out of value. I'd be looking for a move down to 92 and 84, and possibly a retest of the microcomposite low at 76.90. As long as we stay above the 1304 value area, 1305 and a 20, then I think we get a move back up into that 25. Remember, up until yesterday, the microcomposite VPOC was 25, so we could get a move back up there and into this distribution in around this 23 to 1330 level, where we kind of launched from the last time we were in this level. So, but I'm expecting pretty much a rotational. They've got to do a data download. I got a data issue with this spike up. If we do get above this distribution zone, look for a test of the high at value area high at 45.60, with the other side of balance being 1351.70 CLVN, and then the big target above, which was what I was hoping to hold on to my swing long, is this 1386 area, 1388 above, in this larger distribution where we spent quite a bit of time, before in that upper distribution area. So that's what I'm looking at for ES and gold. Howard, over to you.
Thank you, Doug. So looking at the daily chart, since we had our high at 1726.75, we've had a move lower. We had this gap down on September 30th that formed our interim low. That was down at 1666.75. And then the next day we rallied up to break above the 20 SMA here and the 9 EMA here. The following day, we, at least through the Globex session, had a near equal and opposite candle. We did test a bit lower, but then we traced back above the 50 SMA here, which is in cyan. Over the Globex session, which is what this candle is, we tested within a tick of yesterday's RTH low, and we've come back up near the open, and we're still below the 9 EMA and the 20 SMA, which crossed yesterday. So the 9 is now below the 20. So we've got this daily max green signal here. So we'll see if that indicates further downside or not. So looks like the last several days have been mostly constrained between the 9 EMA and the 50 SMA. So we'll see after we finish consolidating whether the market chooses to break above the 9 or below the 50. So let's go to our market breadth. So starting with the Dow Transports versus Industrials, we still see that there's good separation between the transports and the industrials. With the transports having the stronger year, which has been the case all year. So now let's look at the sectors. So a little bit of a mixture yesterday. Most sectors are, generally flat from yesterday. Some a little bit down, some a little bit up. So we have a little bit of a mixed picture among the sectors. No real outliers in terms of sector performance here. So looking at our advanced declines and up versus down volume, we see that as of yesterday, in this middle graph, we see the 10-day averaged advanced decline issues for the NYSE and the NASDAQ. NYSE in blue, NASDAQ in red. And we see both of them have crossed below the 50% level. 50% is where we have an equal number of advancing issues versus declining issues. NYSE, since September 30th, has shown more weakness than the NASDAQ and is leading to the downside. Lower graph shows up volume versus down volume, and NYSE for the last few days has actually been below the 50% level, meaning that there's more net down volume than up volume. NASDAQ is just above 50% right now. So market breadth continues to weaken, and they peaked pretty much at the same time as price, maybe a day earlier, back on September 18th. As we can see from the past, when a turn was made in these indicators, it was a hint ahead of time that in this case, when the bottom formed here, that there was still a little more downside in price before price did turn. And we see the same thing here, where price peaked before price did and started going lower. Price eventually did peak and moved lower. So this is a case where the turn was made pretty much within a day of when price turned, and we can see that the overall internals are looking weaker based on these indicators. Let's look at one more that we haven't looked at for a little while. On balance volume. We can see that it pretty much peaked at the same time the indicators did and has been moving lower with price since then. So Doug, that's all I've got for this morning. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Howard. Okay, so that will complete our morning market review and trade plan setup for October the 3rd, 2013. As always, trade well, trade safe. Remember, it's going to be a little bit choppy in this area. I think it's going to be choppy with an upside bias back towards that 84.75 and a move to try to break out of this balance and move up towards that 97, 95 area. So just keep it light and tight. Don't forget we've got news 30 minutes into the day, so be careful if you're entering a trade close to that news that you don't get chopped up there. And then keep your eye on what's going on in terms of discussions on the government shutdown, because at any moment that could spike the market. So keep it small, keep it light, keep it tight tonight, and we will catch you on the flip side. Have a great day, everyone, and I will close this room down and put the link for the live room in the level 2 and level 3. Have a good one.